Sam, and I'm doing a 2021 forecast. You see, we're starting off with the Sun here in Leo with Mars, Mercury, Venus here in Virgo. We have a lot of other things to be talking about here, and it's very powerful time coming up. And in fact, one of the biggest features is this combustion of Sun and Mars. I actually have put together a comprehensive web class that's going to talk about this Mars combustion from August 17th until November 29th. You see, that's a long time. August, September, October, November, 3.5 months. Now, you can go there and register. I'm going to talk about this for all 12 signs, including yours. And it's going to detail this idea of what the combustion is, especially Mars combustion. It shows anger, hostility, both personally and culturally. You'll learn about what is combustion in the classical Indian astrological sense, the astronomy, and more. There's a thing called the Avasthas. This is what's called the Kopa Diptati Avastha. I'm going to explain what that is. You'll also understand how this combust cycle will affect you through the 3 signs of combustion. It's going to be combust in Leo, Virgo, and Libra. So that's going to affect all 12 signs differently. You'll feel it differently. And I'm going to have the important dates that you should watch out for as Mars moves into these different signs and is combust. Now, again, all you need to do is go there. You click register now. Then you go and you select the event date. Now, it's starting September 1st and 2nd as I'm recording it now, but then I will add more dates later on. But right now, go ahead and register for that and just pick a time. There are 3 times available, but it will also have a replay availability. So go ahead and do that. You really want to understand because it's going to be going for, again, like 3.5 months as Mars goes through these 3 signs. He's going to be combust. Now, what combustion is, it's actually when Mars gets within 17 degrees of the Sun in the sky. It literally, astronomically, means that Mars is behind the Sun. So it's as far away from the Earth now as it ever is. That's what combustion is. Retrograde, the planet, is as close to the Earth as it ever is. Like, for example, Saturn and Jupiter are retrograde, right? So they're closer to the Earth than at any other time. Mars is as far away from the Earth as it is at any other time. Now, this is, by the way, one of the reasons I use this South Indian chart is to illustrate that, because if you imagine that the Earth is in the middle, you'll see that Jupiter is as close to the Earth, Jupiter and Saturn, as they ever are, and Mars is as far away from the Earth as it ever is. So, and you see Jupiter and Mars are opposite each other. So again, what this means when Sun gets close to Mars is it burns it up. This is what combustion is, like when something is combustible. So this is going to be one of the big features of September, is we're going to have this combustibility. Very combust Mars in Leo. So again, we're starting off and we can see already that a lot of combustibility is happening with, we had the recent events overseas, like in Afghanistan, and the combustibility of that situation. Of course, I talked about this in my August forecast, that the middle of August through till September, things are going to really heat up and become more combustible. And again, we're seeing it more and more now. We're also seeing it more as the mask and vaxxing and all this stuff starts to heat up even more as kids are starting to go back to school. And we're starting to, get tempers flaring more and more around these issues of our individual responsibilities in relationship to our collective responsibilities. Collective is Aquarius, individual is Leo. So these Leo-Aquarius themes are really heating up now. And as Mars becomes combust, as he's been combust since August 17th, we're going to get even more of this sort of combustibility. We might see some explosive things happen in the world. Again, as I record this today on the 26th of August, we had an explosion in Afghanistan today. We might see more of these, sadly, these explosive events and more turmoil in those hot spots around the world. Afghanistan can certainly be one where we might see more of a even though the government has fallen to the Taliban, you might see more civil unrest in that country. Again, here in the United States and in other places as well, where there's the potential for civil unrest and more contentiousness around political issues and whatnot. We could definitely see that, as the combustion of Mars is a major feature of the next few months. Again, but aside from that, we also have this, the Sun and Mars will continue through Leo on a personal, in a personal sense through September. It's going to be a time for you to really grow in your personal confidence, strength, clarity, and again, in those Leo qualities, which give strength, resilience, consistent vision, focus, and purpose, are really important. And again, you see the Sun is in Leo. He'll be in Leo until like September, I think it's 15th. Let's just go to the exact date, 14, 15, 16. Okay, on the 16th, you say he moves. So he moves into Virgo on the 16th. But we also have a shift of Jupiter moving back into Capricorn, so we're going to go back and look at that. But just know that from September 1st until about the 16th, there's going to be that big focus on our personal strength and personal power. We also start off the month with a lot of planets, especially in Virgo. That includes Mercury, who is in his exalted placement in Virgo, where he'll be for much of September. So he'll be in Virgo until let's look here exactly, until September 22nd. Then he'll join Venus in Libra. So that's going to be very strong. Mercury and Venus are both really powerful throughout the month of September, which is great. Mercury turns retrograde at the end of September, which I'll talk about in a minute. But again, through this whole time, you see Sun and Mars tracking very closely. Again, as we get around the end of September, Sun and Mars will then be combust in Virgo again, and that will show more qualities of combustibility around ideas, communication, how things are organized. And again, Virgo is also the sign of things like school. So expect this whole matter of school and returning to school to be a real contentious issue, especially in those places where there's contentiousness with certain governors and whatnot. We're already seeing it. We've seen court cases in Florida, and we're going to see them in Texas and other places where the governors are trying to stop local schools and whatnot from mandating masks and things like that. These are going to be more contentious issues for sure. But again, as we start September, we're going to see both Venus and Mercury are in Virgo. Now, it's very good news that by the 5th or 6th, by the 6th, let's say, of September, Venus is going to leave her debilitation sign and go into Libra, where she's exalted. So we could see a real improvement in our personal relationships in September. For the most part, we're going to need that diplomacy, as with this combust Mars, as I say, is firing things up. Especially by the end of September, Mars is very combust. But for most of September, Venus is either Venus is joined Mercury, so there's this Nicha Bhanga on the Venus, which means that, starting on the 26th, which is actually today, Mercury comes into Virgo and modifies Venus's debilitation. So again, for pretty much all of September and even the end of August, we're going to see more awareness, consciousness, humor, flexibility, discrimination brought into this area of life where Venus has been debilitated for a couple weeks, and we've been finding it hard to feel hopeful. Well, Mercury brings that lightness, humor, intelligence, discrimination, and that makes a big difference. It's like if you're feeling bad with your partner and you're just criticizing them, or they're feeling that way about you, nothing makes it better than lightening up the mood with some humor, with some intelligence, with some good communication. So Mercury is moving in there to bring that and sort of rescue the debilitated Venus at the end of August, starting on the 26th. But then that good vibe, that good relationship vibe, that good communication vibe will continue through September. As you see, Mercury and Venus are either both joined, at where Mercury is exalted in Virgo. And again, Mercury is going to be exalted for most of the month until the 22nd, which is great. And he's starting to slow down to become retrograde, again, which is really good because Mercury retrograde cycles are happening in the Earth and air signs in 2021. If you remember, in my 2021 forecast, I said this is one of the best parts of 2021, is the Mercury retrograde cycles are happening in these Earth and air signs. Again, if you can remember back a few months ago, I said back when Mercury was in between Taurus and Gemini for several months, that it was very fortunate that we had Mercury in Taurus or Gemini for a few months. He's usually not in there that long. Well, we're going to have that same benefit now as Mercury goes into Virgo starting on August 26th, and he's going to be in either Virgo or Libra until like November, or I'm sorry, until October. Let's look and see real quick. So he goes retrograde, right? Then he goes back, then he goes back into Libra again. Now we're here. Look, this is until November, right? So August, September, October. So Mercury's either going to be in Virgo or Libra until actually early December or late November. So that's great benefit. So Mercury is going to be really powerful in September, in fact, since the end of August, until the end of November. That's like 3 months. So that's a great blessing. So again, Mercury and Venus through the whole month of September are going to be much more powerful, and they haven't been so powerful the last month. Mercury has either been in Cancer or Leo, where we're not thinking as clearly, we're emotional, or in Leo, where we're all fired up, and he's been joining Mars. Again, so that faculty of having some discrimination, being more lighthearted, being more flexible and curious, has been in short supply lately. So this return to good discrimination, this return to diplomacy, and all of those virtues of Venus, of Mercury and Venus will be important. Now, yes, Mars is going to join Mercury here in early September, so Mars is going to be there. It's not going to be pleasant. When Mars and Mercury join, though, it can bring a lot of penetrating insight and discrimination in the mind. Now, again, remember that Mars is more about our opinions, and Mercury is about intelligence, flexibility, being more neutral. But they can work together. Mars can give a lot of focus and concentrated effort and energy toward Mercury's, sort of lightheartedness and sort of discrimination and Mercury's playfulness. So again, we have to be careful of getting aggravated and irritated, and of course those lower qualities will emerge. Particularly in areas where there's contentiousness, we'll see a lot of angry, cutting words and language. But in your life, you can still use good discrimination, and this relationship between Mars and Mercury brings a lot of what's called jnana yoga, or the yoga of discrimination and intelligence, to use the mind to bust through its own ignorance. So think with courage, think with discrimination and power. That's the real benefit. And we'll see a lot of that through much of September as Mars makes his way through Virgo, and Mercury will be there, as I said. So again, we have September 8th, Mars and Mercury. Again, Mercury is separating, but Mercury is also going to go retrograde back over Mars later on. But, for September, we're not going to be thinking about that so much. Mercury will be separating from Mars, but there'll still be that kind of perhaps frustrated and, penetrating nature of the mind that could lead to arguing and whatnot. So you want to be aware of that. But again, Venus in Libra brings a lot of diplomacy, a lot of joy, the desire to want to compromise and accommodate others, and we'll feel that after the 5th. As you see, Venus goes into Libra it's on the 6th. We'll see Venus in Libra actually on the 5th, probably, yeah. So a lot of improvement in your relationships after September the 5th, which will be a real welcomed addition to our lives after Venus has been in a sort of difficult place. Now, again, as I said, you look for the Sun to also change here. He's moving he'll move into Virgo and join Mars after on the 15th. I'm sorry, on the 16th. And so after the 16th, we could expect, again, more of that combustion of Mars to be an issue again. And September 16th, toward the end of the and for the rest of the month, we could really, the combustion is relevant the whole time, but we could really see some contentious battles as the Sun joins Mars again in Virgo from the 17th to the end of the month. And again, we also see a few shifts here that Jupiter goes back into Capricorn on the 15th. So again, we can see a couple of important things changing here in September around the middle of the month. Not only does the Sun leave Leo, where he's been powerful, and he goes into Virgo, where it's more studious and less inspired and more critical, but we also see Jupiter leave Aquarius and go into Capricorn, where it's not as hopeful and inspired as well. So big shifts around the middle of September that can bring both some frustration with Saturn, Mars, both in Virgo, and some arguing over details, and also Jupiter going back into Capricorn. That's a lot of Earth energy kind of piling up all of a sudden, and we want things to be practical and make sense and know the routine and structure. So that's going to be really important around the middle of the month, that big shift. So again, one of the things I do just want to make sure you can make sure to get this web class on Mars Combust from August 17th until November 29th. Again, it's easy. You just go register. The link is below the video here. And again, all 12 signs, including yours, again, it's going to show this anger and hostility that will be going on, this real potential from August 17th until November 29th. And as you see here on the 17th, the Sun is only 7 degrees from Mars on September 17th. You see by the end, the Sun really closes in. Now he's only about 4 degrees. By the end of the month, the 27th, again, about 4 degrees. And again, the closer the Sun gets to Mars, the more of that sort of frustration and that purification of our anger and hostility is getting worked out, because that's actually what the combustion is about. This is one of the biggest things I'm going to be talking about on this web class, is how to get the most out of it. Because the combustion is not just to make us angry, it's to purify the nature of the planet, and purifying the nature of Mars so that it's not just frustrated and angry, but so that there's great discipline and great insight, and so we can choose our battles wisely. This is why Mars is combust, or this is the power of Mars combust, or any planet that's combust. The Sun purifies, but it does it by bringing a certain frustration. So I'm going to go into that concept very deeply in that web class. Again, it's free, so just go ahead and check that out. So again, by the end of the month, though, we're going to see that by the 27th, I believe, on the 27th, Mercury turns retrograde. So Mercury starts slowing down, especially as we get later in the month. He starts slowing down as he goes into Libra. And again, this is a time to really focus on our relationships by the end of the month. It could be a real powerful time to make peace, perhaps with people who you've been having disagreements with, maybe around even a lot of these social disagreements, around the masking and the whole big thing that we're also preoccupied with. There's a great opportunity to perhaps reconcile some of this and to come together, if not collectively, then personally in your life. Some of that could definitely be important. But again, noticing this shift from Leo and Virgo into Virgo with the Sun and Mars, and then Libra with Venus and Mercury is really important in September, and how we move from that fired up Leo Aquarius energy that we're in at the end of August around kingdom and dominion and culture and society to more individual personal battles. Again, I definitely see some contentiousness coming around going back to school and all of that, and with the vaccines. Again, all of this is very Virgo stuff. And we're seeing now more and more people are getting vaccinated, even those who have been holding out. We're getting more FDA approval now on all of these drugs. And so that's going to compel more people to do it. And we're seeing it's close to 70% of the U.S. is now vaccinated. So we're going to see more of that. But again, there's still going to, as more do it, and the stakes get higher in certain ways, like with schools and all of that, restaurants and all that stuff, it's going to get more contentious as well. So these issues are coming to a head now. And we're going to see some of that, but hopefully at the same time, we could see some reconciliation. And there'll be the possibility of that with all these planets in Libra as well as we work toward the end of the month. And as always, Jupiter, Saturn now in Capricorn is also going to really double down on that need to get focused and to get, really buttoned down around what inspires us, what motivates us. Are the teachings and teachers practical and useful? The ones that we have, that's this Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn is really going to insist that we find the teachings and the wisdom that we can practically apply as well. So again, I hope this was helpful for you. Sort of a quick but comprehensive overview of the main shifts in September 2021. Again, the Mars combustion is going to really dominate, just like this last month, the oppositions. If you look at my August forecast, I said there's going to be a lot of oppositions with the Sun opposite the planets, with the Sun, and it was Sun, Mercury, they were all opposite Saturn, and then they got opposite Jupiter. These oppositions were big in August. Now we're going to get this combustion is going to be a big feature, and the planets moving into Libra with Mercury and Venus both really powerful. They've been pretty weak the last couple months. They improve, and we move away from the oppositions and around the Leo Aquarius to a more Virgo Libra kind of energy where we're looking to be practical and focused and organize our kingdoms and our collective, practical efforts in a way that can, hopefully benefit us all with more intelligence and discrimination and with more diplomacy with those planets in Libra. So I hope you like this. Again, go ahead, register, and find out how this Mars combustion is going to affect you. Share this video with others as well, and I wish you the best.